Yeah, my name is Jussi. Thank you for voting, letting me speak today. To recognize that, I will show exactly 0 slides today. Not that I'm not prepared. I just choose to do drawing and demos and stuff like that. All right. So yeah, we have a new thing going with some new and old friends called Hamina Wireless. You may have heard of it. Thought I'd first tell a little bit about background on this is kind of a typical software tech startup that we are doing. Kind of try to explain how that works. Then I'll show a little bit about how Hamina works, and then we can go from there. How's that? All right. So I hope this will come clear enough. I'll try to use a big marker here. Never done this before, so let's see how this goes. So how do tech startups work, right? First, there's probably some kind of an idea, right? So there's something on somebody's mind that sparks some level of interest somewhere. And then that person, who has the idea, what is needed next? Probably money. So the founder of the tech startup with a big head, apparently, which in this case is very true. He essentially bows down. This is a guy bowing down in front of an investor who's obviously green in color, holding some money in his hand. So this is what happens first, right? You need some level of funding, and if the founder is lucky, this dollar goes here after some stories told by the founder. All right, so there's some information coming this way, and this guy is like, I'm not calling your bullshit too much. I'm giving you some dollars. All right. So that's the funding part of a tech startup. So what is needed then? Then maybe the founder goes and talks to a customer or 100 and tries to understand, like, okay, I have this idea, but does it make sense? And then the customer is like, absolutely not. This is actually what we need. And then this process is reiterated, many times over. And then at some point, the founder of the startup goes and like, okay, the idea is now maybe it's good enough. I have the dollar. I have a better idea. This is trying to be an idea. Here we go. So now what's needed? Probably somebody to actually do something meaningful. All we have is a guy waving his hands, right? So next he needs a team. So what does the founder of a startup do? He goes again and bows down because his knees are getting weak already of all of this praying. But now he actually goes to a developer, and this developer guy is like, "What? You kidding me? I should leave my safe, well-paid job, and come work for you? What is this, a charity?" But then eventually, probably out of pity, the developer is like, "Okay, yeah, sure, let's do that." And then these guys start iterating the product, okay? So the guy waving hands says, like, maybe if we could do this, and then the developer goes, absolutely not, we should actually do it like this. And then, that process is reiterated a few times, and then that's brought back to the customer, all right? So the guy waving hands actually has something now to show to the customer. All right, and this is many of you have been a part of this process at this point. So the customer actually looks at the product, and then this thing gets iterated many times over, and then something comes out, and hopefully it's something meaningful. So that's in a way how tech startups work. The last thing that hopefully at some point happens is this red guy here that isn't very visible, but the customer guy actually in the end is willing to give some dollars to the startup guys. So that's kind of how maybe the investment of the VC here starts paying off. Anyway, that's what we've been up to for a good 1.5 years at Hamina. All right, so today we are here. We have a website. Woohoo! That's that. So I mean, yeah. So there's now a website. Actually, what we haven't published in any way, but you can actually go to the website. You can sign up to Hamina. You can buy the product, stuff like that. So what have we been doing? We've been doing a wireless network planner, really. That's our first product. So we like to think it's very efficient, it's very easy to use, it's very fast. You be the judge, you'll see it soon. But that's kind of what we've been up to. It has a lot of features. It does planning for Wi-Fi, 4G, 5G, private cellular, BLE, more technologies will be added. It also touches things like switching, cabling, PoE, port consumption, those kind of things as well. And then there's meaningful quotes like this one from. But anyway, we try to be like disruptive, and the thing is, like, when you start fresh, you can actually think fresh and start from the scratch. So pricing has been rethought. It starts at $390 or 390 euros for 6 months. We sell it as a subscription. There's no upfront fee for that, stuff like that. So if you want 4G, 5G, it's twice that. Thank you, one person at the back of the room. All right, so time to maybe take a look at the product quickly. How about that? So, what I was wondering yesterday was, anybody recognize this? Yeah, it's the NH Hotel. And this is the infamous 6th floor of the NH Prague Hotel, okay? And what I was thinking is like, okay, I have bad internet connectivity, and it cannot be only because Stephen Cooper from Myst happens to be on the next room over from me. True story, he does. But he's probably consuming much of the bandwidth, but it can't be all of it. So I was like, okay, let's take a look at this real quickly. What I did is I just drag and dropped the fire escape plan into Hamina, did some walls, and tried to understand where the APs are. I actually also did, thank you, Netala, I did a survey with the G3 as well to kind of understand what's going on here. But it's a pretty classic case, it seems, like lack of coverage in the rooms. So what's going on here? They have, and it was confusing. They have both. There might be like Aruba APs over the ceiling, but pointing down from the ceiling was Cisco AP. So and which ones are active in which floor? I don't know. It seemed to be interesting, the whole layout. But let's say it's Cisco 2802s. This is roughly what I think the layout was there. So they were somewhere, roughly in the ceiling. We have one there. We have, these were in the hallways. We have one there, definitely one there. Probably was active too, but it wasn't giving great signal, so might have been loose antenna, whatever. And then probably there was one there, but it was something like this. So no wonder poor Jussi here, especially with Stephen Cooper, watching Netflix on the next room over. But I'm literally here, so it just wasn't great. I mean, just look at that. Jussi not very happy. What I'm seeing here is turtle speeds and low signal, all right? And what is my connectivity with my iPhone? 2.4, baby, because iPhone starts to prefer 2.4 gigahertz when you actually go on low coverage. And interestingly, when iPhone actually gets better and better coverage, it does not intentionally, it does not revert back to 5 gigahertz. It will keep that 2.4 connection until next time over when it roams, let's say here. So, and still, because it roamed in a very low coverage situation, it still prefers 2.4. Android, on the other hand, works quite differently. So let's see if we, immediately prefers 5 gigahertz so heavily. It has its pros and cons, right? But the Android, if I was using an Android phone, I would be on 5 gigahertz. Sure, I might get better data rates. I might get lower noise. However, I would get worse signal. So which one is better? It's a hit and miss. All I'm saying is this plays a role in network design. And the thing is, the clients are also pretty sticky at the NH Prague. So, when I'm in this AP, obviously, because there's no better place for me to roam to, then I roam to this guy, and I stay on this guy like half of the floor until I walk to the next wing over. So the blue area here is how sticky the client is. How long will it hold on to the actual AP until it gives up and roams to the next AP, all right? Okay, so I was also timing myself. I manually drew the walls on this JPEG that I had of the floor plan, and it was done in during one deep dive. Not 3 hours. One 10 talk yesterday. Not that I was not following the 10 talks. Of course I was, but I was also at the same time, drawing this thing. And some of you actually were on our deep dive, so you saw how the wall drawing works and all of that. Who was there? How was it? Anonymous guy from Scania.
Yeah, it was very.
We try to make it as quick as possible. Thank you. I will give you that $10 or 100 kronor, 100 Swedish kronor later. I have never met you before in my life. It was totally not scripted at all. All right. So how do we create these network plans using Hamina? Maybe we should take a look at that a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a new project, give it a name, University of Random. We'll choose a university as the type of the facility. Here we go. So this is what things look like when you start the tool. It's, can you give me a floor plan, please? Or start writing random notes. The thing why we recommend also maybe to start writing notes and kind of collecting the project data into Hamina rather than, let's say, your Apple Notes or Evernote or whatever is these files can be very easily shared with everybody in your project, okay? So let's say a project manager actually starts to write notes in the customer meeting, stuff like that. He shares it with a junior architect. Junior architect does a rough design. Then he shares it with a senior architect. Senior architect does a rough more fine-tuned design, stuff like that. The project kind of lives this workflow / life cycle where things happen on the project. They're done by different people. Different people may share it forward, stuff like that. And the beauty of this is those people who are only, let's say, writing notes or marking, customer requirements or just observing the project, they do not pay for the tool at all. Anyone can sign up and sign into the tool and start, loading in floor plans and marking requirements and writing down notes and stuff like that. Only the RF designers pay the $390. Anybody else that participates in the project, they have unlimited free usage of the tool. So, with that said, I'm going to pretend I actually have paid for the license and that that I can load something in. All right, so let's go to the floor plans. Take out the full screen view here for a second. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to drag and drop a university building PDF into the system. All right, so it's uploading the PDF. Oh, it's a 20-page PDF, so it's a pretty, yeah. So this is a tall order, more than I bargained for. Okay, so the first page of the PDF has now loaded. So 1 page per floor, kind of a thing. And the rest, you can see here, the rest of the floors are still being processed into the system and all of that, but you can already start working. We try to kind of keep the tool all the time so that you can keep working with the tool no matter what happens. And since this is a PDF, how about we, instead of drawing the walls, we try to auto detect the walls. So do not try this at home. I'm just going to say a doorway is 3.5 feet, but forgive me for that. Then I'm going to say import walls from CAD or PDF. If it was a CAD, I would not have needed, obviously, to put in the scale, but in this case, I did. So what I'm going to do is, these walls actually look interesting, so I'm going to associate a 4 dB material to these walls. These walls here, are these actually window? So I'm going to say probably those are window. We can edit those later. And then some of the doors here, because PDFs, what people don't recognize is most of PDFs are actually vectorized, and that vectorized data can easily be absorbed and looked into, and many of the PDFs are also layered. So we can actually use the PDF data to draw automatically the walls. So now you can see the like highlighted colors here, purple, blue, whatever. We're going to say, okay, those walls should do for now. I'm going to hit import. And what the tool does is it processes the walls a little bit, makes them simpler, computationally effective, all of that. And then it says, okay, that's done. So let's see what kind of a wall structure did we get. That doesn't look too bad now, does it? It's all right. And then we can, of course, fix it later, kind of fine-tune later, adjust all of that. So now that we have the walls in place, and of course we could have manually done them and all of that, we are ready to start planning. So do we do 5G, Wi-Fi, what do we do? So we used Cisco the last time around, so this time we're going to do Aruba, and since we're not poor, we're going to go with the AP655s with 6 gigahertz and all the bells and whistles, right? So let's look at Wi-Fi. Let's say on the 6 gigahertz band. All right, and right now we're looking at primary coverage. And as we're placing the APs on the map, observe, I'm going to take out the AP numbers, but see how the channels are also automatically optimized. As you place the APs, it runs through the channel planner of Hamina automatically all the time. So you can see, every time an AP is placed, every time there's some kind of a modification in the network, you can see the channels change. So it kind of tries to emulate your ARM, or in this case ARM or RRM or whatever, to kind of get a good understanding of how the interference is going to be like on the site as well. And of course, you can look at SNR interference, data rate, all of that as well. All right, and if we start placing more and more APs, we can see, whoops, what is that there? So it's automatically disabling some of the 2.4 gigahertz radios if it thinks that they are doing less good than they are, hurting the network, bringing interference. Of course, this can be adjusted here in the settings, and the channel pool can be adjusted and all of that. But this is kind of like try to make things as simple as possible, as effective, but still all of the calculation, all of that happens, in 3 dimensions. Don't be fooled that it's a 2-dimensional real-time user interface. Everything happens in 3 dimensions. If we want to, use directional antennas, I'm gonna, instead of the Aruba 655, I'm gonna take like 344, use an Axeltex directional antenna, put that there, take that out, here we go, and we can see nothing. Why is that? Because we're looking at 6 gigahertz. Let's look at 5 gigahertz. So everything you see here is like the Axeltex antennas. Carter and the guys were sweating for, I think, years to provide us, the accurate 3-dimensional representations of their antennas. Thank you, Connor. And here's kind of what it looks like. And if we take the AP, I don't know, to 30 feet high, no problem. We can give it some down tilt, no problem, stuff like that. So it's fully 3-dimensional, but it's still very much a real-time calculation. And to prove my point, maybe let's take a look at the warehouse. Here we go. Oh, that's full of 5G stuff already. I'm gonna take those out. continue with the Wi-Fi APs. Take an Extreme AP 310E. Look at Wi-Fi coverage again. Take the directional axle text. So here you can see, for example, this warehouse has shelves of different heights, and these shelves here are very thick and all of that, so the AP doesn't go through many of the shelves, especially if it's placed at 3 feet height. But what do? We actually raise this to, I don't know, 50 feet. And you can see, yeah, it doesn't touch the ground so much anymore. Let's give it some down tilt. Here we go, looks a lot better. And you can see the AP kind of, the signals. Look at these shelves here, which are fairly low. The signals fly over some of they kind of leave these shadows behind the shelves a little bit, because the AP is mounted so high and the boxes are so low, or whatever shelves they are. There's trucks in the exterior yard here, which these guys here, which also attenuate the signal and stuff like that. So yeah, that's that. Okay, so most, or you could say all of the Wi-Fi vendors are supported in terms of APs being three-dimensionally covered here. Most of the antennas are there, all of that. Okay, and what I showed you earlier, the roaming man, for example, what we can do is just click the client view and simulate how the network will actually perform from the client device's perspective, depending on which one you are using. So thanks to Andrew McHale from Vocera, we also have the Vocera phone here, so we can see exactly how the Vocera phone would behave in this warehouse environment, for example. So what we've done is we've taken the specs from the manufacturer of, let's say, a Vocera phone, and understand, like, okay, how does it associate to the network? How does it work, like, under the hood? Because the client device, obviously, in Wi-Fi makes all the decisions. How does it associate to the network? How much does it prefer the 5 gigahertz band versus 2.4 gigahertz? How does the roaming work, and all of that? All of that has been modeled for the iPhones and Androids and all of that. So we originally, we were talking with, and this comes back to the bowing guy talking to customers. We were talking with the experts, and they were saying, like, you need to solve our roaming problem. You need to show us, like, how the client will be roaming and how sticky it will be and all of that, and show the roaming areas, things like that. And we were like, okay, then that's how the kind of the roaming man, for example, was born, or this feature. And what happens in the end? People don't really use it that much. Some people use it for roaming, but many people actually use this as a customer deliverable to explain to the customer, like, this is why I'm choosing to put in 30 extreme access points instead of 20. And that's what makes Coleman smile a little bit. But that's kind of the, like, sometimes you just, create features, it's a hit and miss, and then it turns out that they are used for something totally different.
Need a walrus.
True that. So, anybody heard about the walrus incidents in Europe? Anybody? Except Anders Nielsen, yes. So obviously, walrus, or is it a pack of walrus? They tend to live like way up north in the Arctic Sea. But at times with global warming, they actually gravitate towards the south, and they go down the coast of Norway. And one of those walruses ended up all the way to the Gulf of Finland. And they ended up to the city of Hamina. I kid you not. So Hamina is actually a city, a small city in southern Finland. So this summer, and I was there in Hamina when this happened, so I was looking at, like, why are the police boats chasing something invisible in the sea? It was the freaking walrus that they were trying to steer down to the sea. Why am I talking about walruses? Well, first of all, it was from Hamina. Secondly, if you know what buttons to press on the tool, you can actually convert the roaming man into a roaming walrus. The most undeserved applause ever, but thank you, I will take that. So this is another story of like the guy waving hands going to the developer, actually in this case our designer. So I went to him like, okay, this walrus is in the news today, we need to switch priorities, okay? And he was like, he was literally like, you want me to work all day on what? And then this came out, so hey, at least we got a tweet out of it. All in good fun, all in good fun. Anyways, how much time do I have? Is there a clock? I have plenty. I will actually use less than that. Okay. Another thing that came directly from talking with many of you and people like you was the network equipment tool. So we were like, yeah, it's going to be the best wireless planning tool ever, and it's going to do 5G and Wi-Fi and blah blah blah. But then what exactly happens is, what comes out is, no, we just want a really effective planning tool, but you actually need to consider switching, and you need to consider cabling, and PoE budget. For example, David Coleman and many others have written like really good blogs of like what is the major change of Wi-Fi 6E. And one of the major changes of Wi-Fi 6E is actually PoE power consumption, right? Because much of the features in many of the Wi-Fi 6E access points are only enabled when you have PET power. So, and what does that do to the switch power budget? It eats it up more quickly. So we needed to start thinking about also the switch budgeting, the cabling, the PoE budget, all of that. So in Hamina, you can also put in switches, things like that on the map. Let me put none here. So I'm gonna just put the switch in here into the janitorial closet. All right. So when I put the switch in there, it automatically calculates the cable lengths, it calculates how many ports I have used, it calculates based on the AP type, depending on how much the actual AP model consumes PoE power. We also calculate the PoE budget, all of that. And then also we calculate the cable lengths for each of the APs, power consumption of each of the APs, all of that. But what happens then? Then people were like, yeah, that's great, but I also have other devices connecting to the switches, right? Like, security cameras and environmental sensors and desk phones and what have you, door locks. So we also added client devices here that connect to the switch. So let's say, on the janitorial closet, we have a door lock that connects to PoE and requires PoE power, or we have cameras and things of that nature that may or may not be PoE, but they certainly connect to the switch. So all of this stuff can be added. It automatically connects to the switch. It's automatically budgeted in your cable calculations and power port consumption, all of that. So it's not just Wi-Fi anymore. It's a bit more than that. And then, yeah, if you want to do 4G, 5G, that's obviously there as well. So instead of Wi-Fi, we could and RSSI, we could look at 4G, 5G, and RSRP, do a hybrid design of different technologies. There's for CBRS, there's also automatic channel planning. You can get the pool of channels that you get from SAS, utilize only those channels and that kind of stuff. All right. And then currently, these are the three technologies we have, the third one being BLE. So if you're doing, usually for us Wi-Fi engineers, this would be like BLE location tracking, right? So we could say, okay, how much BLE coverage do I have? How many beacons do I need in different places? Not just to have coverage, but to have actually good enough location coverage for, I don't know, 3 APs at NEC 75 or 3 BLE beacons at NEC 75 or whatever that may be. All right. So Wi-Fi, 4G, 5G, BLE, switching, all of that. So what happens then? What happens after we have done all of this? And this is why we haven't shipped a product in a while. You guys were like, yeah, it's great, but are you kidding me? What have you been smoking? You need reporting before you can actually ship the product. So that's what we've been doing lately. Started with a bill of materials, really. So looking at everything that's there in your project. It gives you the count of APs, it separates the antennas as different line items, different AP mounts as different line items, so all of that, to give you a complete bill of materials that you then can actually edit. Like all of these columns and you know, everything is completely editable here. So you have some kind of a bill of materials with a click of a button deliverable to your customer. And the bill of materials is just a small part of the actual report that we're creating. So create a new report. So here what you can do is you know, customize the report, add your custom texts, add your custom descriptions. All the views can be completely modified. The things that you don't want to send to your customer, like let's say I don't want to give him a view to the interference heat map, I can disable that from the view. It has the project notes, the areas, the bill of materials, the logo can be uploaded. I wonder if I'm gonna upload something totally not suitable here, so let's see. Oh, it is the logo of the hotel. I was lucky this time around. But all of that is there, including the 4G, including the 5G. Should we take our chances and actually copy, send the link to the report to somewhere? Where should we send this? What is a Boardman? Yeah. How do we distribute this link to the people who want to check it out?
Boardman will tweet it. I'll tweet it. You send it to me.
Oh gosh, this is going to be interesting, but hey, there's still 3 hours for us to fix that. Oh, thank you. How do you tweet that? How does the link come from my face?
You need me to type my email in?
Oh, no.
Because I didn't want them to see my work email. That would have been weird.
Yeah. I'll just disconnect us for a bit, and I'll message it to you, Boardman.
Ah.
Oh.
The other one. Like, that was my phone number.
I will totally not show your phone number. All right. Oh yeah, it is being recorded. We need to bleep and blur like half of this presentation. Oh, and this is our test server as well. So Boardman, try it out yourself before you tweet it forward. But yeah, the idea here is that the customer deliverable looks pretty much like this. So the customer can actually, zoom into the project, zoom out. He can click on the APs, see the coverage and data rates and configurations of individual APs without having to flip through 150 pages of PDF and stuff like that. PDF reports are important as well, but this is another way of kind of investigating those reports and kind of like maybe an easier to understand way. Maybe if you really want to see what is the exact coverage somewhere, this is how it works. So yeah, so that is the reporting right there. So sharing and reporting are unlimited and free of charge, of course. So you can send as many of those as you would like. The last thing I want to show is the project export, for example. So using the APIs of Extreme and Mist and all of that. Remember how Peter actually talked about this yesterday? So the APIs of the different Wi-Fi vendors are pretty great. They allow us to do different things. For us, it means we can actually fire up new sites even directly from Hamina. So you do an RF design of a new store, let's say, of your 60 stores that you're deploying for your customer. You do the RF design, you click export from Hamina, you put in your API key. Let's see if I can find my API key real quickly. Here we go. Let's see if that's alive. and I want to push my plan into the Meraki system. So it automatically fetches my organization from Meraki, it fetches all my networks or sites in Meraki, and it allows me to create a new site directly from Hamina. And that new site, click off the export button, that new site will be created to the Meraki system. And not only will the site be created, we will push the maps into the system, the AP locations, and we will take the sufficient amount of APs from the Meraki inventory, push them to the site. So the site is ready to go without ever touching the Meraki dashboard. So the second people start actually plugging in those APs, the site is running without ever going to Meraki. All you need is the organizational, organization needs to be created and the templates need to be there, of course, so that it has some kind of a configuration. But outside of that, do an RF design, push to Meraki, do an RF design, push to Mist, Arista, Extreme, all of that. And this is, of course, expanding to be more comprehensive as well. All right. Since I still have 19 minutes, it's either questions or we go take an extended coffee break. So up to you guys. But this is what we've been working on. And maybe I'll answer the first obvious question first. So what about like site survey and all of that? This is a planning tool, right? So for site surveys, towards the end of the year, we will start seeing things happen on that front as well. We will be having a client-side application for walking around, validating the network pre-deployment, post-deployment, all of that. And then the next obvious question is, what about hardware? So there's two you could say that our strategy is twofold. We will be supporting devices like the WLAN Pi and different spectrum analyzers and different devices that wish to communicate with Hamina. We support those, and we will also have our own multi-radio Wi-Fi 6E hardware available next year as well. Thank you. So that's the most obvious question. The next most obvious question is,
do you have a generic AP?
Do we have a generic AP? We do not. We do not.
No, but real question. Do you support cable between floors?
We will, yes, absolutely. That needs to happen, right? But currently, no, but it will be there, yes.
And
yes.
Can I customize the cable path?
Yes, can you customize the cable path from the AP to the switch, for example? Today, you can select which AP goes to which switch, but since everybody asked the same question, I guess we have no choice but to do the cable path completely customizable. First, we were like, it's not a cabling planner tool, nobody will use it for that, and then every time somebody proves us wrong.
Hey, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Michael, are you ready? Come on.